Can I retire at 60 with $500,000 saved for retirement? That's what we're going to look at today on the Your Financial EKG YouTube channel. I have Samantha. She is 60 years old. She has saved $500,000 in her 401k, and she's asking the question, can I retire? And so we're going to get into three specific scenarios for Samantha. We're going to look at, can she retire at 60 with $500,000 saved for retirement? If not, what age is going to make the most sense? And when should she start to collect her Social Security benefits? So let's look at some of the stats for Samantha. So Sam is 60 years old. She goes by Sam. She has $512,000 saved for retirement. The majority of her retirement savings are in her 401k. She's got about $12,000 in the bank as an emergency fund. Social Security for Sam is $3,000 per month at 67. Now, here's the thing. Samantha is single. She has kids, but there's no spouse and there's no other partner in the picture. So for her, her retirement income is on me, myself, and I. And so as a financial advisor, I want to look at Samantha and say, okay, we need to guarantee as much cash flow as possible. And the one source of guaranteed income that will always be there that has a COLA adjustment for her is Social Security. And so we need to look at, does it make sense for her to take Social Security at 67 or 70? We want to push this out as far as possible, because if she takes Social Security at 67, she'll get 100% of her full retirement benefit. She'll get an 8% increase after that, all the way to 70 if she waits to collect, of 124% of her full retirement benefit. If we take earlier, if we take it 62, 63, 64, she's going to get a reduced benefit. At 62, you only get 70% of your full retirement benefit. So because she's single, we want to try to push out her Social Security as long as possible, get as much guaranteed cash flow as we can from Social Security. Now, she would like to retire within a 5-year window. So she said to me, hey, Drew, I want to retire now, but if I can't retire now, is there like a 5-year window we can look at? And I said, yeah, of course, we can look at a 5-year window. She's single, as I mentioned. So again, all of her retirement assets, all of her retirement savings, her Social Security, it's all on her. And her expenses are $3,500 a month. Of these expenses are a new home. So she has a mortgage in there. She's got just her regular expenses. Again, she's single, so her expenses are a little less than if it was a couple. All right, so let's look at the first scenario. Can I retire at 60 with $500,000 saved for retirement? So we're looking right here. We're going to retire at 60 with $512,000 saved for retirement. Now remember, her expenses are $3,500 per month. Now these are going to get a 3% inflation rate. So every month, we're going to look at inflation on this $3,500 in expenses, okay? Now, she does have Social Security. Now, it's going to start at 67, but from age 60 to 67, all of her income is going to come from her $512,000 that she saved for retirement. Now, from an assumption standpoint, we're going to assume a 6% rate of return on her money. So the $500,000 that is in her 401k is going to get a 6% rate of return. Now, the reason I'm using 6% is because the market over the last 50 years has averaged about 10%. If you factor in inflation, it's averaged about 8%. We're going to manage these assets more conservatively than what the market has returned. So we're going to assume 2% behind the 8% average for a 6% rate of return. Now, keep in mind, don't look at this on a year-by-year basis, because there are some years, like 2022, where the market is negative. And then there's years like 2021 where the market is positive. We're looking at it over a long time frame, the averages over that time frame. So that 6% rate of return is an average we're looking at for the next 30, 35, 40 years of her retirement. The same with inflation. We're looking at it not on a year-by-year basis. There might be higher years inside of this inflation, but we're looking at it over the long term. Now, we've got $512,000 saved for retirement. We're going to take out $3,500 a month with inflation. So at 67, our 512 actually falls to $240,319. So we're less about $250,000 from where we started, which is not good over a 7-year period. Now, 240, 319 is what we've got at 67. Our expenses because of inflation have gone to $4,399. So that's our new expenses. Our Social Security is going to start kicking in now. So we've got $4,399 in expenses. Our Social Security is $3,000. So there's our Social Security, which means we need what? $1,399 coming out of this $240,000. So we need $1,400 a month out of this $240,000 in order to live. That's going to get a 3% inflation rate. So we're going to have a 3% inflation rate on this money, and we're still going to have a 6% rate of return. So now we look at this and say, okay, how long is this going to last? And unfortunately, we are out of money. We're at zero at 77 years old. So we look at this and say, can I retire at 60 with $500,000 saved for retirement with $3,500 in expenses, waiting to 67 to collect Social Security? And the answer is, unfortunately, no, you can't. So there's a few factors that we have to look at. The first factor is we need to increase this $512,000. How do we do that? We might have to work longer. We're definitely going to have to work longer. Or we lower our expenses. She's lowered her expenses as much as she can. So we can't lower expenses. So the only other thing that we can do, the only other thing that we can control, because we can't control what the market does, we can't control inflation. We've tried to control our expenses as much as possible, right? But taxes go up, property insurance goes up, food costs go up, healthcare costs go up. So we can control that as much as we possibly can. The only thing we can do is work longer and increase the amount of money that we have saved for retirement. So we need to look at, can I retire now? At what age does it make sense? Can I retire at 62 with $595,000 saved for retirement? Now, we're moving on to the next scenario. We just looked at, can I retire at 60 with $500,000 saved for retirement? And that did not work. We were out of money at 77 years old. So now, the only factor that Samantha, so this is Sam, that she can control is working longer and saving more for retirement. She can't control what the market does. She can't control inflation. Her expenses are rock bottom, so we have to work a little longer. We need to continue to delay Social Security, and we need to save more for retirement. So now we're 62 years old, and we have $594,989 saved for retirement. In the last scenario, she was 60 years old with $512,000 saved for retirement. So she's worked 2 more years. She's gotten a 401k match. She's put her contribution in, and she's got a market return of 6%. We're just doing an easy projection. So we have $594,000 saved now at 62. Her expenses were $3,500 at 60. Well, it's been 2 years. So her expenses have inflated, right, over those last 2 years by 3%. So her new expenses are $3,750. So these are her expenses, and they do have a 3% inflation rate on them, meaning we're going to look at this on a monthly basis. Inflation for the year is 3%, and we break that down monthly, okay? Now, she's 62. We're going to wait till 67 to take Social Security. So we've got 5 years that we're going to take $3,750 out of our $595,000 that we've saved for retirement. Now, there's 6% is what we're going to assume the rate of return is on her investments. Keep in mind, I always stress this because I always get a comment about it. 6% is the long-term average that we're looking at for a projection. We're not looking at year 2022, we're not looking at year 2023 or year 2021. We're not pulling out a single year and making a comment like, well, she can't earn 6% in 2022. I know that. What I'm looking at is long-term, she's going to average 6% because the market has averaged 8% over the last 50 years. So we're going to make it more conservative because she's in retirement. When you move into retirement, it's so important that you adjust your investments for retirement. I'm 37 years old. You don't want to be investing like me at 55, 60, 65 if you're retired. You need to be more conservative. You need to be more income-minded. It's not about what you make, but it's about what you keep. And if you're at the water cooler, if you're at the golf course, if you're at the pool and everybody's talking about their stock market gains and they're making 10, 15, 20%, they're not talking about their losses. And it's not about them, it's about you in retirement. So from 62 to 67, she's going to take out $3,750 per month. Okay, with inflation of 3%. At the end of that 5 years, she would have $450,598. Okay, so we've taken out $140,000 for income. The money's still earning 6%, but we're net less $140,000. Now at 67, our expenses have grown to $4,399. because of inflation. So there's our expenses now. Okay, so they've grown because of inflation. We're going to get Social Security of $3,000. So that's our Social Security. So we need about $1,400 per month from our investments. Okay, so $1,400 is what we're going to need to take out. We're still going to assume a 6% rate of return. So 67, and I want to go, okay, now that we're on Social Security, how long is this going to last? And basically, we're at zero at 85. So if we retire at 62 with $595,000 saved in our retirement savings, our 401ks, IRAs, whatever, earning 6%, our expenses are inflated, we're basically out of money at 85 years old. And so that's getting closer to where we want to be. I feel okay. Mortality rates for females are at 86, so we're about a year off. Doesn't give you a lot of wiggle room for emergencies or healthcare costs or anything like that. So I would like to push this even farther. So we need to make some adjustments again. The only adjustment that we can control is working longer and saving more. Let's look at it. Evan with $785,000 saved for retirement. That's what we're going to continue to look at. We started at age 60 asking the question, can I retire at 60 with $500,000 saved for retirement? Well, the answer was no. We couldn't retire at 60. Then we moved to 62. Can I retire at 62? And with our amount saved at that time, which was $595,000 saved for retirement, the answer was again, no, but maybe. And so now we're going to jump forward 5 years. We're going to look at, can I retire at 67 with $785,000 saved for retirement? Now remember, we've got Samantha. She's 60 years old. Right now at 60, she has $512,000 saved for retirement. She'd like to retire within a 5-year window. When we do the analysis, as we get closer to Medicare age 65, it becomes clearer that she can retire and her money's going to last for the rest of her perceived retirement. But what I wanted to show her was, what if we just worked to 67 and we kept continuing to save for retirement and we got to that full retirement age for Social Security? How long would our retirement assets last? Remember, she's single, so all of her savings is on me, myself, and I. And so she needs to be really diligent about her retirement income, claiming Social Security, and all of her expenses, because there's no other spouse, there's no partner, and the kids are not going to pick her up. it's going to be all on her. Now, her expenses at 67 are $4,399. These are her expenses. Now, we've been inflating them at 3%. She started at $3,500, but we've been inflating those at 3% every year. So at 67, they've grown to just about $4,400 per month. Still pretty good. Again, she's done what she can do to control her spending and her savings. But there are a few things that are out of her control, like what's the market going to return? What's inflation going to look like? But we're trying to put historical averages on those so we can get a good plan in place for her retirement. Remember, we're putting together a financial EKG. We're trying to decide, can I get to retirement? Can I get through retirement? And am I protected to stay in retirement? Do I have the ability to stay in retirement? That's why Samantha called me. She's from Michigan. I'm in Florida. She said, hey, Drew, can't find anybody in Michigan that I like. I called you. I need a financial EKG. And so that's what we're looking at. Now at 67, she turns on her Social Security $3,000 per month. That's her full retirement age Social Security. So she needs about $1,400 per month coming out of this $784 for her retirement income. Now that $785,000 is still invested. We're going to use 6% as our rate of return for the money that's in the market. Now again, we're not picking out singular years and saying, oh, 2012 or 2022 or 2040, whatever. We're looking at averages. We're looking at over the long term, okay? Now from 67 to 77, her money goes from $784,403 to $933,169. So there's a huge difference here than when she was retiring at 62 or at 60. When she was retiring at 62 and 60, her assets were actually decreasing as she pulled money out, even with a 6% rate of return. So even though her assets were earning 6% a year, which is well above the 4% rule, she was still losing her assets because of the income coming out, which is so important. It's not necessarily about the accumulation of assets in retirement, but it's about cash flow. It's about my cash flow coming in so that my assets that I've accumulated are still there when I'm older and when I'm in the most vulnerable time of my life. Because at 85, 87, you don't want to have to go back to work unless you want to, okay? So at 77, she has $933,000 still saved for retirement. Now her expenses have gone up to $6,054. That's what our expenses are at today. Remember, it's got a 3% inflation rate on it. So it's growing at 3% every year. So that expenses are going to continue to grow for the rest of her life. And people will say, well, you won't spend that kind of money at that age. Listen, the cost of healthcare for two people to retire today at 65, the cost of healthcare is about $300,000. So let's half that. For a single person, that's $150,000 extra dollars that you're going to spend on healthcare over and above Medicare. Okay, so you need to have a plan for that, and that's why we give expenses a 3% inflation rate, and we don't change it when we're doing our planning. So expenses, $6,054. Our Social Security has now gone to $3,614 because of cost of living adjustments, okay? And we're just using a simple cost of living adjustment for Social Security, which is the historical average. I think it's about 1.9% is the historical average. So we're just going to take that to $3,614 for Social Security, which means now she needs $2,437 per month out of her $933,000. We're still going to earn 6% in the market, so that's our rate of return. And essentially, I just want to say, okay, when is this money going to be at zero? Just using a 6% rate of return and some of the assumptions that we've got, we're at zero at 100. So now, as a financial advisor, I feel really good being able to say, hey, listen, Sam, we couldn't retire at 60 with where you're at. We can't retire at 62. We're getting really close at 64, 65. But if you wait to 67, you're out of money based on just some simple assumptions at 100 years old. Now, you might be saying, Drew, I'm not going to live to 100. My parents died in their 70s. My siblings have died early. I ain't going to get there. You might. Healthcare's changing. You might. So you want to have a plan. You know, people always say from cradle to grave. You want to have a plan from retirement to the grave because you don't want to get to this area, 80s, 90s, and go, holy crap, I ran out of money. What am I going to do? Am I going to worry about, am I going to move in with my kids? What am I going to do? That's why we want to have a plan. So can I retire at 67 with $785,000 saved for retirement? Yes, you can. And you're doing a darn good job. Hey, thank you so much for watching. God bless. Bye-bye.